Welcome back. I'm glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV this Friday, the 6th of February 2026, and it is Tarehe Sita Day. Tarehe Sita, as we spoke in our preamble as the program got underway, is the day the National Resistance Army began the struggle for liberation of the country. We'll be looking at so many aspects of this particular endeavor that the National Resistance Army undertook, and especially the evolution of this particular unit into a national army, the Uganda People's Defense Forces. We shall also be looking at exactly what that means for the rest of us, especially from an observatory point of view on what the military is, what it should be, and what it ought to be. I'm joined in studio by a security expert, a seasoned commentator on matters security and now military, so to speak. I hope I haven't gone overboard in describing that. Mr. Fred Egesa, many thanks for joining us on Morning at NTV.
Good morning, NTV. Good morning, viewers. I'm happy that I've been invited to have to discuss what I almost know most.
What you almost know most.
What I almost know most.
Wow. Thank you very much. Just a preamble on exactly what the Tarehe Sita is. I've just spoken about the fact that a group of men began a guerrilla war, a campaign, so to speak, to liberate the nation from what they thought at the time were atrocities, including disappearances of citizens, arbitrary arrests, illegal detentions and killings, but also the general breakdown and collapse of institutional civility in the nation. And after 5 years of fighting, after 5 years of struggle, the national resistance movement finally was able to, finally came into power. What is your take on this extraordinary story of the National Resistance Army?
Thank you so much. I can see that there's a story to tell, and I'm happy to say that I think I've been around when all this has come up. From the time the first time I heard about soldiers and guns and army was in 1966, when there was that uprising that created when the bill was being attacked. So I had blades. I was fairly young, but somehow, somewhere, I could see that the situation was not normal.
That is right.
Like my father didn't go to work, my mother was there, several other relatives came in the house, and it's like wherever there would be that kind of sound, then they would lock us in. So that's maybe my first interaction. And having been raised around the city, I've really looked at so much to understand that security is a necessity. You cannot do anything without security. Security has to be there. You have to build it, and even like our forefathers, you remember why they had to kind of raise and groom and respect a boy child more than a girl child. It was because they thought that if you have more boys, then you're secure. If you have more girls, okay, you have goods, but you're not secure. You have the economy, but you don't have security. So somehow, somewhere, you can be attacked, and even the goods are taken. So I think it is on that kind of vein that families, there was family security, that man had to have more sons for purposes of being secure in future. Then there was also that situation of from family, then it was clan. 2, 3 families thought like the insecurity or maybe security concerns were growing. So somehow, somewhere, there was a situation of saying there will be a situation that we may be invaded. Human beings by nature are predators. They tend to go for the weak. they keep on eating out the weak and exploiting them. So somehow, somewhere, everybody, security is just a necessity. You have to build some kind of muscle so that to stabilize your legacy. And I think that's what has been happening. That in Uganda, we have had issues. You remember from the King African Rifles, I think that was the main African army, Ugandan army we had. It was built out of course, the whites came in, but we had our own people. You remember before I think what was imported from Uganda was slave trade, slaves.
Yeah.
So if you are not strong, if you do not have an army, someone would come, carry your children, carry your whatever you would have gathered, beat you up, kill you, and things like that. Now, when you come back to Tarehe Sita, we see that there has been a journey. This journey started from one who's maybe 2-3 men's heads. Like all other ways. Many of the issues that had disturbed Uganda were because forces had been built and then used in a way that did not possibly, that was a bit mean and a kind of personal. You could see that before, when Kabaka was overthrown, much of what we had was actually Eastern Northern Army. Others had been left out. Then when Amin came to power, we had almost a Nubian West Nile army. And then the process, when Amin is overthrown, now we have two factions. We have the Western, Fronasa, then we also have the other team that, and Obote, which formed the Kikos Marum. But much of their base and doctrine was mainly tribal. Someone says, come and we fight with the Samyas, someone may destroy us, someone may do this and the other. Because an army is built from a certain point of insecurity. And you have to convince, you don't convince the whole country that you're building an army. You have to start, whoever started an army, started as a person, then as maybe a clan, then as a tribe, and I think that's how we have evolved to a certain stage where it becomes now a national army. So if we are talking about 40 years, an army is built on mistakes, you break and build. You do so many mistakes, but you have to keep on going.
Improving, yeah.
You have to look at yourself, look at, say, if I've been tribal, can I be strong enough? Of course, the other tribes also will build their army. They'll now they look at us as threats, then in the process they may even invade us. So why don't you involve more tribes? Why don't you bring many on board? And I think even that's how NRA has been was constructed. Mainly, if you look at it critically, it almost started like a tribe, or maybe like a clan tribe army. It was a small thing. The dialect was even almost that. The communication. When NRM came to power here, you'd think it was a tribal army. It's the same communication, one language, this and the other. People who look alike and things like that. Even when it came to elevating officers, you'd see almost every section there was a one tribe, because they are building. Now, we are talking about 40 years. When we talk about 40 years, the problem with this government is the government lacks spokespeople, people who help educate the public about tell the story of the government. People tend to tell stories because they want to please the president, they want to be seen, but they do not talk about the gists of what makes Uganda and why Uganda should do this and the other. If you talk about the army and NRM especially, and which has evolved from UPDF now, we will say that NRM was the egg. So it had all the natures. You know, an egg is fragile, it has its own ways and so many other things. When they first came in here, we had officers who would even park vehicles in the middle of the road and go to hotels. Because it was still a crude army. It was still a crude army. So that's why all those excuses and excesses were there, and they could be tolerated. Now, if there is indiscipline now, after 40 years, then those are issues to strictly be addressed.
Okay. We shall, of course, be coming into talking a little bit later about the growth and the development of the army itself, especially in terms of discipline. Is it any different from the other armies that many Ugandans have encountered? But you spoke about the nucleus of any army, the formation of a fighting group. When you look at the original unit of the National Resistance Army, the men who made this particular unit, I'll just read names here. We have Brigadier, and in no particular order, please. I think we shall use what Derek Wandera and Benson Tumusim of the Daily Monitor have offered us. Museveni Yoweri Kaguta, Eria Kategaya, William Black Mwesigwa, Captain Valerino Raheru, Martin Mwesigwa, Malibo Aboli, Kahinda Otafire, Fred Rijema, Caleb Akendanwaho, Ivan Koreta, Sam Magara, Eli Tumwine, Julius Chihande, Pecos Kutesa, Fred Mwesije, Joy Mirembe, David Sejusa Tinyefunza, Matayo Chaligonza, Emi Echaruhanga. All these names are from one part of the country. This is the nucleus of the NRA.
It is the egg. I would call it the egg, the nucleus. Yes.
Should we blame anybody when this particular signature continues to show itself on the form and the identity of the army right now?
Yes, if it prominently shows, then definitely there's something wrong. But I think we should look at the actuals and see that we have seen now other names coming in, though over time.
Over time,
because a force is built on trust. If you're going to create an army, you have to first of all build trust and common interest. Now, if you are to start from somewhere, the CSA has to be that we the guessers, we the what. So for purposes, because you're building an army, you're building something in the tides of enmity, in the tide, you can be crushed at any one time. Because when NRA was being built, it was a guerrilla kind of outfit. Therefore, it was a criminal activity. It was a criminal act to build a guerrilla kind of situation. That's why they kept in the bush. They did not come on the streets of Kampala because they definitely were doing a wrong thing, and the government that existed then had the right and power to crush them. So in the process, somehow, somewhere, one had to create a situation that he had to deal with the nucleus team that could trust them. So that's why you see it was Mwesije, it was Museveni, it was Kadanawa, it was this. Because these were almost like people who had a common factor. And what was the common factor? The common factor was tribe or region.
Okay.
It would be understood that easily. When you see how Chikos Marum had been built, it was also built on the northern kind of situation. If you see the West Nile bank front, same thing. If you go to all these others, that's what has happened. If think of a situation that Nyerere did not come in to unite Fronasa and Chikos Marum, they would have still advanced as what? They would still have advanced as tribes. But when he came in and under the Tanzanian forces, put them together, indicated that they had the same enemy. That's how they came up as an army. But you could also see that their relationship and their marriage did not last long, because somehow, somewhere, by then they still had that kind of ragtag belief in tribes and in regions and in language.
Okay.
Yes.
The question I have for you after that particular submission is a very political question. I'm glad that very shortly we'll be joined by a policy analyst and one who has been following very closely the development of institutions in the country, and I believe the evolution of the military is something that he will offer us a good perspective on. after this particular unit came through, fired the first bullet, of course we know the story of General Eddie Tumwine, now deceased, may his soul rest in eternal peace. The attempts that have been made to ensure that the pitfalls that other armies find themselves in on account of the nucleus, the core philosophy that they are made of, the NRA, now UPDF, has evidently made some headway in ensuring that they completely take away that identity and form a truly national army. Right now, when you look at the Uganda People's Defense Forces, are you convinced beyond doubt that it's a national army?
What I have to say here is that, like I've told you, departments, the state, the government, seems to lack people who can tell the tale, who can say the story of the government. I can say formation, only that it is very, because, you know, forces will always be scattered. And when you look at the structures and what is coming up, you can see that after some time, because, like I said, this may only, one of the only areas where I may have to create a justification for overstaying power, because if someone came up, started an army, then left, other dynamics would come and pull it down. So what happens here, like I've said, I may only for this say, yes, it is good, possibly the President Museveni has overstayed for purposes of building this only structure. I'm only getting disappointed that somehow we are making, there are big mistakes being done. But you can see that there has been some kind of formation, there has been some kind of development. It cannot come overnight because it's a situation of trust. So when you're building an army, you are literally building the core of which will protect politics, which will protect the economy and so many things. Meaning you are building something that is going to stabilize a nation. Now, it takes time to trust, it takes time to train, it takes time to this. Of course, sometimes we say maybe the 40 years are too many, but I think we can see that something is coming up.
What kind of army would satisfy President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni that it's now okay to allow another person be in total control?
Of course, I wouldn't know. That is a very personal mind. Are you
like military?
That's a very personal mind. But I think here he may be looking at several other factors. But of course, he believes, one of the pillars he believes he has done and built is the army. And it is the core that now creates all that situation of making sure several other things like the economy, several other things like the politics can go. So the only problem I think which is becoming an issue is when the army starts running politics. When the army starts running, because the army has to be part of politics, but politics should not be part of the army. Because once you put it upside down, then the army is always built as a cohesive.
Say that again.
What I'm saying is that politics can, the army can be part of politics, but politics should not be part of the army. I wonder if I'm making any sense.
You are making sense. Because I just want to ensure
if you allow the army to carry politics on its back, then it is messing up because it's not its mandate. It's not its mandate.
You're driving towards anarchy.
Yes, exactly. You are kind of using extra advantage. You're taking advantage of a system where there is competition to introduce a coercive force. So what we are saying is that the army should be, in the economics you cannot have good economics, you cannot have good whatever, but once you bring it on the forefront to lead, then there is a problem. And that has to be, I think that's the area which we have to deal with.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. No doubt, very interesting submission there. It's one that we are going to build on when we return from the break. Do stay with us. You're watching Morning at NTV.